What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. I have not eaten today, so let's go do that really quick.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. What am I get for you today?
There we go. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Jack Roth. I am your podcast host, real estate agent, and connoisseur of today, I think. I don't even know. I've been sitting here. It's another one of those days where I just do not know what to talk about, but that's okay. I think I'm going to just go a little bit off the cuff here, keeping on trend with the kind of conversational style that we've had in the last few episodes. It was a busy week. It was a super busy week, actually. I've been in meetings every day this week with, I think on Wednesday, I had 3 back-to-back. So I've been doing a lot of talking. Unfortunately, it's all just kind of work stuff, office updates, things like that. So not a whole lot that I can tell you guys that would be interesting, unless you wanted to know kind of the ins and outs of my office. But that is not going to be super exciting or anything like that. I've been sitting here for a couple hours now, getting ready to record this and do everything. And it was just another kind of one of those days where I wasn't feeling super inspired or anything like that. But then I started thinking about, what I could bring to the table as far as conversation goes. And I think one of the things that I have not talked about so far is my clientele, my client base, I guess we could say, because being so young in this industry, it is odd, to me at least, that I have to cater to and serve these people that are much older than me. And by much older, I would say 85% of my client base is at least 40 years older than me. A lot of them are senior citizens. I've done a few deals for 55 and over communities. But the thing is, I actually really love talking to older people. I don't know what it is about my personality and why or how I connect to these older people, but I can guarantee that if we were sitting in a room full of people of all ages, I would just naturally kind of gravitate towards the older people. I think part of it is that I love hearing kind of their perspective on things. I think that in general, in conversation with people, I just love hearing different perspectives and different stories and kind of just different, thought processes and everything like that. So to talk to somebody that's 40, 50, 60 years older than me, I find it super interesting, and it comes from a genuine place in my heart. But with that being said, I do have a really great relationship with my grandparents. I love them to death and everything, but I find a comfort in talking to older people, definitely. I'm fairly reserved with people that are my age or similar to my age. But when it comes to people that are in their 60s, 70s, 80s, I could sit down and talk to them all day long. And the benefit of that, I guess we could say, is that they tend to be some of the best clients. Older people, they typically have all of their finances in order, especially if they're retired. They've got all their finances in order. A lot of them have owned a home for the last 40, 50 years. And so they have a lot of equity built up and, rolled through the different properties and everything like that. And so they tend to be really easy clients to work with. So it's kind of a win-win. I get to talk to them and see kind of their perspective on things and help them with their goals as far as home buying and everything. But they also get somebody to talk to, because one thing that I've learned in business and in life in general is that people love to talk about themselves. Older people especially have a lot of stories to tell. They've been around a long time, a lot longer than I have. A lot of the times they have kids or grandkids that are older than me, and so they've got a lot of stories to share. And I think it's just super interesting to kind of sit down and chat with them and just have these conversations of, I don't even have an example here, but just have these conversations where we may or may not have similar thought processes or opinions on things, but they have a plethora of experience and history to kind of go through and base their thoughts on and everything like that. Like I said, it is interesting being so young in this industry because especially my coworkers and colleagues and other agents that I interact with when I'm doing a transaction with somebody, they all tend to be much older than I am. It's not uncommon for me to work with somebody or represent somebody that's at least double my age. And for reference, I'm 23. So anybody that's 45 to 50, it's super common to see that. And I think especially in real estate, I think the median age for realtors is somewhere in the 50s. So I run into it a lot. It's really interesting, but it's definitely taught me how to kind of stand my ground and how to represent myself as much older than I am. I hardly ever tell anybody my age, unless it comes up. But I've found that it has been a kind of roadblock for me in the past. And so I don't bring it up, and instead I bring value to the table to the point where they don't need to question it. And if it does come up, I'll tell them at a point where we've built enough rapport and enough trust within each other that I know for a fact it's not going to matter. And I've seen that typically my older clients, the ones in their 60s, 70s, don't have an issue with it. It's really interesting. The younger clients in their late 30s, maybe early 40s, have had an issue with it in the past. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it was just because I was a younger agent in general as far as experience goes, but it has come up a few times. And it's definitely interesting. I actually just had somebody this year that kind of breaks that mold, I guess, of what I just told you guys. She was a client who was in her 70s, I believe, and we had been working together for a few months. I was trying to help her buy a home, and we were also going to list her home. And I went and did the listing presentation, and she didn't love what I had to say. It was just one of those instances where she wanted to sell her house for way more than it was worth, kind of thing. And one of the models that I kind of operate on in my business is that I'm going to be very blunt. I'm not going to bullshit you. We can do things your way to a certain extent, but I have no interest in marketing a property that's going to sit on the market for 6 months, 8 months, something like that, because it reflects poorly on my skills and my advising and everything like that. So anyways, back to the story. This was an older client who I'd been working with for a couple months, and she was going to buy in the mid fives, and we were going to sell her house in the low fours, but she wanted to sell her house in the low fives, and it just wasn't going to work. And so, I was very straightforward with her. I told her, this is kind of the deal. This is what's going to happen. We can find a middle ground here and list it, higher than what I think it is going to sell for. But, in the grand scheme of things, I think that it's going to sell for this mid fours kind of price range. It was not very long after that conversation that she got back to me and said, I think I'm going to work with somebody who's got a bit more experience and who is, a bit more seasoned in the industry. And at this point in my career, I it's always a bummer to lose a client, but I kind of let those comments roll off my back because I know the value that I bring and I know my worth and everything. So I don't, I'm not going to let one stranger's opinion really sway me too hard there. I said, I told her, I got back to her and I said, I respect that. If you need anything, let me know. I'm happy to refer you to any of my vendors or anything like that. And a couple months down the line, I just checked, about a month or two ago, and this was back in January of this year. But a few months down the line, I looked up her address again, just curious if it had sold for that price that she was asking. She was asking, I think it was low fives or very close to 500 for a property that was going to sell for probably 430, maybe 440 at the highest. The last I checked, it was listed, and they had done several price reductions. It has not moved at all. And I looked up the agent that she ended up going with, and he was just an older guy. He's been in the industry for 40 years, and they probably just got along a little bit better. But in that case, I think he was also a yes man. And so I think that that's the one instance that I've had where a client that was much older than me kind of had an issue with my age. But the only other time that it's come up has been with younger people. And I don't know why that is. I don't know what, the deal is with that. But I just tend to get along really well with older individuals who are in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s, I would say. And I think that definitely part of it is that from a genuine place in my heart, I really do find the conversations interesting. I'm a very reserved person, but one-on-one, I can hold a conversation fairly well, and I will be super chatty to the point where, I get tired of hearing myself talk kind of thing. But I love to listen. That's part of it. I love to listen to people, love to listen to what they have to say and think and everything like that. So I don't know. I just figured, since I don't really have any huge updates for you guys, that I would kind of bring you along yet another journey. That's the entire point of this podcast, is to kind of open up and let you guys see kind of the ins and outs of where I'm at, who I am, kind of thing. But it is interesting. With that being said, I think I'm going to wrap it up. Super quick episode today. Like I said, I really don't have anything amazing to report on. We've got the decision for raising the federal rates here in about a week, about 5 days from now. So we're going to see how that's going to go. It's predicted, from what I've heard, it is predicted that the feds will be raising the rates again. So we're going to see how that kind of interacts with and affects the market. I'm not super stoked to hear that rates are going to be going back up, but we will see what happens because home prices have been on the rise lately. And I know for a fact that D.R. Horton is, that's one of the major home builders. They have reported, I believe it was like a 30% change year over year, that they've sold 30% more homes this year than they did last year at this time. So it's really interesting to kind of see what's going on. I think a lot of people are seeing that these rates are going to climb and they figure they want to purchase now before they get too high. But I think people are also kind of warming up to the idea that, you can refinance your rate fairly easy, and a lot of lenders have programs where they will pay for that refinance if you do it within a certain time period or whatever it may be. So other than that, guys, really got nothing else for you. There's going to be some things, I think, in the next couple months, I don't know when, that are more in the legislative kind of side of things. So I'll keep you up to date with those as soon as I've got more information, or as soon as I'm allowed to say more, I guess. Oh, I guess one of the exciting updates that I had this week is we had our first, I had my first advisory council meeting with RE/MAX DFW Associates. So for those of you that didn't know or didn't hear the last couple episodes, I was appointed a spot on the RE/MAX Advisory Council to advise the company and kind of go over all of these things, whether it's cultural, business, event, any kind of these issues that need to be brought up, individual, everything like that. They appointed me a spot on the advisory board, so I represent me and I think it's 11 other people. We represent the close to 300 agents that we have here at RE/MAX DFW. So that's super exciting. That makes me feel important, I guess we could say. It makes me feel like kind of a head honcho in a sense, but also, it's my first political role, you could say. So who knows what comes next, presidency or something. I'm just kidding. But anyways, I hope you guys are having a great Friday. I'm going to wrap it up here because I do not have much more to say. Hope you guys have a great weekend. And I will get this edited, put out today on Friday on schedule. And then the YouTube video should come out tomorrow on Saturday. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to take off. Hope you all have a great rest of your Friday. Hope you have a safe commute back from work. And hope you have a lovely weekend. I'll talk to you later.